group of 5 young friends embarks on an adventurous journey to hike and climb mountains in Croatia. They take a group photo to capture the moment before starting. However, upon reaching the trail, they discover that the usual passage is blocked. Despite this, Fred, who has more climbing experience, decides to proceed anyway. Loic is hesitant about the idea, but Fred continues ahead, securing anchor points for the others. Once everyone has crossed, Fred instructs them on how to connect to the steel cables, and they begin their trek along a dangerous cliffside path, secured by safety harnesses. Loic remains the most fearful among them, but Chloe encourages him to keep moving forward. As they advance, the group reaches a fragile-looking bridge. Fred is the first to cross, joking that once they pass, there's no turning back. He excitedly makes it across, followed by Guillaume and Chloe. Loic, however, panics midway and starts feeling sick. Seeing her boyfriend struggle, Chloe turns back to encourage him. Karine, who is last in line, begins crossing, but the bridge, being old and unstable, starts swaying. Fred tells her to stay still, fearing it won't support too much weight. Loic finally reaches the other side, and Chloe urges Karine to hurry as the structure begins to collapse. As Karine reaches the middle, the steps beneath her fall apart, leaving her hanging onto the steel cable. Fred quickly throws her a rope, and the group pulls her up just in time before the cables snap completely. Once they are safe, tensions rise. Loic angrily blames Guillaume for encouraging the climb, despite all the warning signs, even accusing him of planning the whole thing. Fred tries to calm him down, insisting that they must keep moving until they reach a zip line that will get them out of the area. The group continues their climb along the edge of a steep precipice. Karine, leading the group, notices that one of the support cables ahead is loose. With no other choice, Fred and Karine climb up first, while the others wait below. Loic's fear intensifies, but Guillaume and Chloe try to calm him down. Once at the top, Fred confesses that he had known beforehand that the passage was blocked, but chose to continue anyway, and apologizes for putting them all in danger. As he continues forward, Fred suddenly steps into a bear trap, causing severe injury. Meanwhile, Loic slips and nearly falls, hanging onto the safety cable. Due to his weight, he drags Guillaume down with him, placing both of them in grave danger. As Fred, badly wounded, urges Karine to go on and find help, she rushes back just in time to throw a rope to the others, allowing them to climb to safety. Fred, now alone, hears ominous noises nearby. Suddenly, the chain attached to the bear trap is pulled, dragging him into the woods as he screams in pain. By the time his friends arrive at the spot, Fred is nowhere to be found. They call out for him, but receive no response. The distress signal device is in Fred's backpack, leaving them without a way to call for help. Loic insists they should leave, but Chloe refuses, saying they won't go anywhere until they find Fred. As they continue their search, tensions rise between Guillaume and Loic, with Loic bringing up Chloe's past relationship with Guillaume, and the argument escalates into a physical fight. As Chloe tries to intervene, she accidentally falls into a hidden pit. Karine rushes to help and narrowly avoids being impaled by a wooden stake while descending. Upon reaching the bottom, she discovers that Chloe, though injured, is still alive. Karine helps Chloe climb out, but their relief is short-lived as the group starts to question the presence of the traps. Elsewhere, Fred's seemingly lifeless body is dragged through the darkness by an unknown force. As night falls, the group continues searching, but they're completely lost. Karine fears she may never see her boyfriend again, but Chloe tries to comfort her. To avoid further accidents, they tie a rope between themselves to prevent falling into another trap as they continue forward. As the group desperately calls out for Fred, Karine is suddenly hit in the chest by an arrow. Realizing that her safety rope has been cut, she struggles to scream but can't. Chloe sees her wounded friend and rushes toward her, but before she can reach her, Karina is violently dragged away into the darkness of the forest. The others attempt to chase after her, but quickly lose her trail. They stumble upon a bow and arrows, indicating that they are being hunted. Shortly after, a heavy rainstorm forces them to continue their journey. They stumble upon an isolated house and decide to take shelter for the night. Inside, they find Fred lying on a table, barely alive. The moment they reach him, he takes his final breath and dies before their eyes. Chloe collapses into Guillaume's arms for comfort, an act that doesn't sit well with Loic, who watches with jealousy. Guillaume then searches for Fred's backpack, hoping to find the distress signal. He discovers a basement and decides to investigate. Inside, he finds a room where the name Anton is written in chains, marking it as a place of captivity. He quickly grabs the backpack and rushes to leave. Before he can escape, Loic, blinded by jealousy, stops him. He snatches the backpack, then shoves Guillaume back down into the basement and locks him inside. As Loic attempts to leave with Chloe, they suddenly come face to face with a madman who drags the badly injured Karine alongside him. The man attacks Loic and knocks him down, leaving him paralyzed with fear before turning his attention to Chloe. Loic makes a cowardly decision. He grabs the distress signal and flees, abandoning Chloe to her fate. Sometime later, Chloe regains consciousness and finds herself trapped inside the basement alongside Guillaume. They remain silent as they realize with horror that their captor is a cannibal, preparing to mutilate Fred's body. As they struggle to free themselves, the madman returns to the basement, grabs Chloe, and takes her with him, leaving Guillaume helplessly trapped. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Loic stops to catch his breath, visibly torn with guilt over leaving his friends behind. Back at the house, Guillaume finally manages to loosen his restraints, but the basement door remains locked. He peers through the cracks and sees the madman preparing to kill Chloe. Desperate, he tries to force his way out, but fails. At that moment, Loic unexpectedly returns and throws a rock at the madman, enraging him and diverting his attention from the house. Seizing the opportunity, Chloe frees herself and then helps Guillaume escape from the basement. They embrace, relieved to have survived. However, their joy is short-lived as they soon stumble upon Karine's lifeless body. Chloe collapses in tears over her dear friend's body. As dawn breaks, Loic continues his frantic escape through the forest, making his way toward the zipline. But before he can reach it, the madman catches up to him and shoots an arrow into his leg. Despite the pain, Loic continues pushing forward, but the madman catches up. A brutal fight ensues, and Loic manages to injure him with an arrow and hit him with a rock. Loic then attempts to climb onto a suspended ladder to get away, but the ladder is unstable, leaving him hanging over the void. Fortunately, Guillaume and Chloe arrive. Guillaume reaches out to Loic and grabs his hand to pull him up. However, as Loic clings to him, Guillaume recalls how Loic betrayed him earlier. He tells Chloe that Loic is slipping, and then, without hesitation, lets him fall to his death. As Chloe processes what just happened, Guillaume pulls her into an embrace and tries to comfort her. However, the madman suddenly reappears and shoots an arrow straight into Guillaume's head. Enraged over the loss of all her friends, Chloe decides to fight back. She grabs a knife and attacks the madman, determined to fight for her life. Though she fights with everything she has, the madman is far stronger. Just as he is about to end her, Chloe suddenly screams his name, having remembered it from the basement. The name startles him, and taking advantage of his hesitation, Chloe slashes his throat. As Anton screams in agony, she raises the knife for a final blow but hesitates. Instead, she chooses to leave him suffering and makes her escape. Chloe reaches the zipline and begins her descent. Just as she disappears into the distance, the screen fades to black, and the sound of the zipline cable snapping echoes through the forest. The film ends with a grim note. Days later, Loic's body was discovered, but the bodies of the others were never found. This message suggests that Anton survived, and his gruesome cycle of madness and terror continues.